So last night, as I'm recording this video, the Phoenix Suns took another blowout victory in the second round against the Denver Nuggets and are now up 2-0 in the Western Conference semifinals. They've been dominating this entire postseason. They were able to beat the Lakers in 6. They're coming off that epic first round victory against them, which came to a surprise to many of us, including myself. I had the Lakers winning the championship again this year, but the Suns played incredibly, were able to beat them, and now they're looking like they're absolutely dominating the Denver Nuggets. Now in today's video, I'm going to be giving you guys 5 reasons why I legitimately think the Suns will win the NBA championship this season. If you guys watch the channel, you know that I've done horrible with playoff predictions this season. I've talked about in a few other videos how my bracket predictions in 2019 and 2020 were great, but in 2021, the 2 teams that I had making the finals got eliminated in the first round, and then in the second round, I made the bold prediction that the Milwaukee Bucks would beat the Brooklyn Nets, and we all know how that's going right now. But today, this might be my final bold prediction that I make in the NBA playoffs this season, and it's that the Suns are going to win the championship. So hopefully I can end off on a good note here with this one. But like I mentioned, I'm going to be going through 5 different reasons why I legitimately think that they're going to win it all this season. So if you're new to the channel, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on any new videos. This is my 7th day in a row of uploading on the channel, so I am grinding right now during the playoffs, uploading tons of NBA content. So if you're new, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on my NBA content on the channel. With that being said, let's get into it. The first thing I'm going to be talking about today is simply the dominant offensive play of Devin Booker and also Chris Paul, especially for CP3 in this series. So let's start with Booker. Booker's been putting up in the playoffs so far 27 points per game with 6 rebounds and 5 assists on a ridiculous 50, 41, and 91 shooting splits, which for his play style, as we know, is absolutely insane. It's only 8 games, but the fact that he's scoring this efficiently is really showing just how much of a potential superstar player he is and how he's definitely playing like a superstar right now, and his dominant play is really what is helping the Phoenix Suns dominate games on the offensive side of the floor. And overall, he's just been insanely efficient, shooting a 63% true shooting, which is a +7 relative true shooting in the playoffs, and no one can guard him so far. We've seen throughout the Lakers series how they obviously didn't have an answer for him at all, and the Nuggets definitely don't have an answer for him at all either. He hasn't even been scoring that much this series. CP3's controlled the offense a lot this series, but Booker's still been really efficient, and overall, the Nuggets defense this series doesn't have an answer for their overall offense, and Booker's just been playing insane overall over the course of the entire playoffs. Booker's one-on-one scoring right now has been absolutely insane, and absolutely no one can guard him. And when we look at CP3, he had some injury struggles with his shoulder in the Lakers series, but he's finally fully healthy now, and he's absolutely dominating right now with his playmaking. In the series against the Nuggets so far, in the 2 games that they've played, he's had 26 assists, which is 13 per game in those 2 games, and only 1 turnover. So a 26-to-1 assist to turnover ratio, even though it's just in 2 games, is absolutely insane. Chris Paul right now is showing that he's still one of, if not the very best passer in the NBA. His overall playmaking has just been insane as well, creating so many open shots for his teammates, creating space, having great gravity, and probably has the highest IQ in the NBA right now. He just makes the right play every single time, and despite him aging a little bit and not scoring as much right now, he still has one of, if not the very highest IQ in the entire NBA. He's averaging 9 assists per game over the course of the playoffs, and as I mentioned, not that much scoring, only 12 points per game, 18 points per 36 minutes on 44, 40, 83 splits, and 52% true shooting. So his scoring has gone down a little bit, but he's still operating a lot in that mid-range area like he's done throughout his entire career, and his playmaking has been absolutely insane. I'll be honest, going into this playoffs, like I said, I had the Lakers beating the Suns in the first round, and my biggest doubt for the Suns team is how they didn't have a superstar type of player that is maybe a top 15 or top 10 player. But in terms of top 15, they've absolutely proved me wrong. I think Devin Booker's proving that he's a top 15 player in the NBA right now. He has what it takes to be the best player on a championship caliber team, and Chris Paul is absolutely, with his playmaking ability, showing that he's still probably a top 20 player in the NBA as well. So their 2 main stars have definitely showed up, and it's a huge factor towards their success right now. The second thing I'm going to be talking about, and the second reason why I think the Suns will ultimately win the championship, is their incredible defense. Right now, they're leading the NBA playoffs in defensive rating with 103.5, which is how many points you essentially give up per every 100 possessions. So this is absolutely insane what they're doing defensively. They're, like I mentioned, leading the NBA playoffs in defensive rating right now, and I've been studying this team's defense a lot. I've watched tons of their games, and their defense right now, especially in the playoffs, reminds me a lot of the Raptors defense, and not only to this 2019 but especially 2020. And if you guys watch the channel, you know I'm a massive Raptors fan. I'm from Canada. It was amazing to see them win the NBA championship, but their defense, especially in 2020 was with Nick Nurse, was the best in the NBA, and they showed this a little bit this year too. Their main problem this year was rebounding, in my opinion. That's a topic for another day. I might talk about the Raptors in another video, but their defense in 2020 was amazing. They had this strategy of really shrinking the floor, over helping on drives off of the wings, but then still recovering out to shooters in more of a desperate type of way. And the Suns are doing this too. They do a great job of shrinking the floor and making sure that someone else other than Jokic on the Nuggets and other than LeBron on the Lakers can beat them. And by shooting threes, they really crowd the paint, make sure that the opposing team doesn't get points in the paint easily. They really overhelp, shrink the floor, and then recover out to shooters and hold their opponent to an under average 3-point percentage. And the Nuggets are shooting horribly from three this series, and the Suns are continuing to crowd that paint and making sure that they don't score on the inside. And this is especially hard to do against Jokic because he's an incredible playmaker and is always going to make the right play. But the Suns are still doing a great work with off-ball defense, making sure that the Nuggets don't get easy cuts to the basket, and they're going to continue to do this throughout the entire playoffs in their next series. And just their overall defense has been amazing, how they've shrunk the floor, recovered out to shooters, and I give credit to Monty Williams. I mean, I have Tom Thibodeau winning Coach of the Year, and I was right about that, but Monty Williams is definitely a very close runner-up, and especially right now in the playoffs, he's doing an incredible job with this team's defense. They have many great individual defenders too. DeAndre Ayton has done a great work against the Lakers bigs and against Nikola Jokic in this series, holding his own in the paint, doing very well in rotations and everything as well. They have a couple very good, versatile defenders that can guard on ball very well in Mikal Bridges and Jay Crowder, a great perimeter defender in Chris Paul, and another great perimeter defender off the bench in Cameron Payne. They have so many great individual defenders, and as a team, they're the best functioning defense right now in the NBA. Defense wins championships, and I think the Suns defense has what it takes to get it done. So those right there are my two main points, but I have three other points I want to add on here, and one is about the Suns transition game. I've always found that throughout the playoffs especially, the team that gets out in transition the most out of the two teams is usually going to win, and the Suns have this amazing defense, and they allow that defense to lead to offense. Right now, according to NBA.com, they rank in the 89th percentile in transition in the playoffs so far this season. They rank second in the playoffs in points per possession in transition with 1.28, fourth in the playoffs in points per game in transition with 20.5, and third in the playoffs in field goal percentage in transition with a 57% field goal percentage in transition. So they're obviously very efficient there as well. They do a great job of stretching the floor when they get out in transition. They're good shooters, like to go out to the perimeter in transition and get some easy looks from three, and also a lot of their guys like to cut to the basket and get easy buckets in transition near the rim, and all of this is led by Chris Paul. Again, I give so much credit to CP3. He does a great job of pushing the pace and always finding the right pass and the right play to make in transition, and their transition offense is so successful mostly because of him, how they have great shooters, and overall how they just allow their defense to move to offense and transition to offense, and they just get easy buckets out in transition, like I mentioned, shooting 57% in transition, which is obviously way better than the average field goal percentage. So if they stick to this strategy, getting out in transition a lot, it's going to be really successful for their offense, and I can see them continuing to do this in the next rounds as well if they get past the Nuggets. The fourth thing I want to talk about here, and the fourth reason why I think the Suns can ultimately win it all, is their depth. And you need depth to get through the regular season, we all know that, and a lot of the times it's not as important in the playoffs, but definitely sometimes it is, because your offense can't be too one-dimensional. We've seen tons of teams in the playoffs, even this year especially, where their offense is too focused around one player, not enough other players get involved, and oftentimes in the playoffs, defenses have the strategy of doubling shrinking the floor, and trying to make someone beat them other than the star player. And teams have tried this against Devin Booker and Chris Paul, but it doesn't work because the Suns not only have great shooters and are shooting 37% from 3 in the playoffs so far this season, but they also have tons of amazing role players that are going to step up every single night. I mean, guys like Mikal Bridges, Jay Crowder, Cameron Johnson, Cameron Payne, Torrey Craig, and Dario Saric. All of these guys have potential to go out there and maybe even drop 20 points. And if you're going to get a consistent effort and scoring and around 20 points from 1 or 2 role players every single night, this is something that is huge towards a championship caliber team. Other guys need to step up, because if stars are being doubled and the defense is making someone else beat them, you need these guys, these role players that can contribute to scoring as well. And the Suns absolutely have this. All of these players are pretty versatile. Pretty much all of them are really good defensively. A lot of them can shoot. Pretty much all of these guys are very consistent 3-point shooters. And like I mentioned, especially a guy like Mikal Bridges, he's really stepped up this playoffs, has scored 20 points in a few games. Especially a guy like Cameron Payne as well. This guy has really stepped up this season. And overall, they have a deep team. They run a 9-man rotation. All of these guys are going to step up night in and night out. And this is something that you really need for a championship caliber team. Players other than your stars to really step up. Last thing I want to talk about is the leadership on the Suns team. Again, talking about Chris Paul here, I think most of us can agree that Chris Paul is pretty much the best leader in the NBA right now. He does a great job of helping out young players, giving them tips during games. He's very composed and does a great job of leading his team on and off the court. This is something that you definitely need for a championship team as well. We've seen it throughout all of the past few years. Every championship team has really had that, not only on the court leader, but a vocal leader, and Chris Paul is absolutely amazing at both of those things. They also have a veteran in Jay Crowder who's very experienced. He's a really experienced role player, and you see him on the court sometimes too, talking to some of the younger players and showing his experience and knowing that he knows how to perform at a high level in the playoffs. He does a great job of helping leading this team as well. And Monty Williams, as I mentioned, is one of the best coaches, if not the best coach in the NBA right now. He's very calm, composed, will always draw up the right play in crunch time down the stretch in games. And again, he's a very good leader, and I love the fact that he's coaching this Suns team right now. It really helps them out. So this team has a lot of leadership as well, and this is something that's really going to help them ultimately try to win that championship. So there you have it. That is the end of today's video. To recap my 5 reasons why I think the Suns will win the championship: the play of CP3 and Booker has been insane. Their defense is one of, if not the best in the playoffs right now. Their transition game has been on point. Their depth is amazing, and it's something that they're really going to need in order to win that championship. And they have great leadership as well, especially with their coach and also Chris Paul. So overall, this Suns team is built for a championship. Even though they don't have a top 10 player right now, I think they're going to have what it takes to get it done. It would be amazing to see Devin Booker be on top of the world at a young stage in his career, really be considered one of the best in the league after this season if they do win the championship, and also to see Chris Paul get that very, very long-awaited first ring of his career. I think it'd be awesome to see this team win the championship, and this is a hot take, but I do think they definitely have what it takes to get it done, and I ultimately think that they will be the 2021 NBA champions. So let me know what you think in the comments below, who you've got winning the championship and what you think of the Phoenix Suns. Thank you all for watching this video. If you're new, be sure to subscribe, and I'll see you all next video.